Good morning. Well, how do you start a garden to save money on grocery budgets? Today we are going to take a tour in our garden to see what is growing. So today is July 1st, 2022, and we are looking at raspberries. So they came from last year that produced raspberries in fall. I didn't cut them down this spring, so they will produce again this spring, and then I'll cut them down. So those skin look brown, and you can see last year where the fruit was last year on the brown cane, and this year canes are green. So those will produce raspberries in fall. So I let them, the spring cane, I let them produce in fall, and I let them produce in spring the following year before I'll cut them down, and then the spring cane will produce in fall again. So that's one way to treat those raspberries, and that's the front yard garden. And we are going to, so the raspberry is pretty much wrapping already, and we have few there that we can start harvesting. And right across the garden I have a little herb garden right few feet away from the building, and it has mostly Egyptian onion and some greens. And even though we have concrete, the raspberry is shooting in the herb garden as well. So we have those little ones, and I like to cut them out of there. So we have Egyptian walking onion, and they are producing those baby onions on top. I have been eating some of them. At this time, they don't produce green leaves. So if you didn't harvest green onion leaves from your Egyptian onion in spring, by summer, in our zone 5-8, they will start producing those green leaves by mid-June. So I will come out looking for green onion to put in my food, but I won't find much. So when you do not harvest them, they will go pale. You can see them laying down on the ground because the energy is poured into the main stem that is going to carry the baby onions or bubbles. And the Egyptian walking onion that are growing but are now big enough to or mature enough to produce bubbles this year, they are not often, but there are some that won't produce bubbles the first year. They will have some greens that you can harvest, but again, by mid-June, July, they tend to be, the leaves are not in good shape for eating. But those are the ones that I will find some on to harvest from. So now we got in the garden, we need to make sure I close it so that bunny does not get in it. So we are pretty much in front of red currant here. And we have red currant. Let's talk about red currant first. So you can see that the tree, the bush has quite a bit of red. So those are ripe. When they are now ripe, they will be green. And I have shown in a previous video when they were growing, but now they are ripe and we need to harvest them. They tend to be sour. and you can eat them raw. And we have quite a bit on the plants. So I will bring the kids in and we'll be able to harvest them. But you can see them. There's quite a bit of mosquito in the garden. And we will come and pretty much harvest them. So few feet away from the black currants, we have white currants. And white currants tend to be green when it's not ripe. And when it's ripe, it's translucent. So you can see the seed inside of it. And I have 2 branches. Pretty much I put a branch on the ground and I mulch it. And it's producing. The plan was to carry it and propagate it elsewhere, but now I still have it there. And I did the same thing for the red currant. I have the mother tree and then I have a baby tree right next to it, and it's producing, but they are connected. But I'm sure the baby tree will have roots in the ground, I would think. So the white currant is ripe as well, so we'll be able to harvest them as well. So few feet away from the red currant, we have grape growing, and that's seedless Concord grape. And it is the second year, I believe, that is producing, or the 3rd year, not sure. But again, not too far from it, we have seeded Concord. And seeded Concord is growing as well. You can see the grape on it, but they are all green. They are not ripe yet. And I pretty much plant them next to the fence that I'm using to fence the garden. And the fence is within fence. I have fence within fence, and the inside fence is what I'm using to support the cane. So I like to prune them heavily in spring, so that I don't have cane that are not producing grape, but are still growing on the fence. So right next to the currant, we have, I believe it's called L.L.C apple, the name of this variety, and it's growing apple, and that's the 2nd year we have apple. And we do have some that didn't really grow, kind of dry out there. And quite close to the apple, we have blueberry, and blueberry is ripening as well. So we need to come and harvest them. So let's look at the blueberry from the other side. And while we are talking about blueberry, maybe we should we have garlic. I like to grow garlic like perennials in the garden. So I let them go to seed, and those that's hard neck garlic. I have soft neck garlic as well, but those are hard neck garlic, and they are going to grow bubbles on top, and I will just let them fall on the ground and grow back. And garlic leaves are edible, so I like to cut them, add them to salad, or add them in my cooking. And I can, in spring, I like to harvest some, chop them up, put in the freezer for cooking. So we have our blueberry, and you can see them, and that's the first year that we have a good harvest, a good production of blueberry from one tree. We have at least 4 trees of blueberry, but this one is the one that is doing well, and is right close to the wealthy apple tree. And the wealthy apple tree is not a big tree. You can see the size of the tree is not that big at all. And we have the blueberry branch that is, so pretty much you can see that's the blueberry, oh sorry, blueberry branch or stem. And then we have the apple one next to it. So those are things that are growing and things that are already wrapping for us to harvest. We have blackberry that is flowering and is going to produce blackberry for us this year. And in June we harvest a gummy at the back, and we don't have any on the tree for me to show, but we harvest them already. I think by mid-June it is ripe, completely ripe, and we harvested them. We harvest a honeyberry as well in June, but we could find some on the tree. So this is the garlic, you can see it, but they are already, you can see them turning brown, most of the leaves turning brown. Technically, when some of the leaves start turning brown is the time to harvest them, especially the soft neck, but I don't really do that. You can see this one is on the pathway, and by the stem I will say that it is a good size garlic, but you can see how many is together, so that means it's the whole things that fell there and pretty much grow many out of it. So it's not like one clove there, it's more than that. So we have black currant here, is now ripening quite here, but you can see some of them. When you wrap, it'll turn black. It's getting there, but it's not there yet. So we have a lot on the and that black one is ripe, and it tends to smell and taste like unripe mango, and I kind of like it with that taste. But yeah, oh, and in June we harvested strawberries as well, but we could still have some in the garden. So we are next to honey berries, and you can see some of them, they tend to grow under the leaves, and we harvest most of them, but you can see the purple fruits. So honeyberry and gummy and strawberries, we harvested them in June, and now we have currants that is ripening, as well as blueberries for harvesting. So when you are growing your own fruit, it will take a while for those fruit trees to reach, to start producing. But once they start producing, you'll be able to harvest, harvest some fruit from them that over time you won't have to purchase those fruits from the grocery store. And by not purchasing them, you will save that amount of money that you will have used otherwise to purchase them to spend on other things you do not grow. So that's one way you'll be able to keep your grocery budget the same while prices are rising. And while you are, you start your garden, you might want to think about things that will take years to produce and things that you could start harvesting early, to introduce both if you like those type of fruit. That way you can start harvesting from some of them early while you are waiting on the others. So one example would be currant. Currant start producing early for us, while apple, most of our apple trees, they have not started yet. Another one will be raspberries. Raspberries and blackberries, they produce by the second year, and then we start harvesting from those while we are waiting on our fruit trees. So if you like to purchase those, they won't produce a lot, but you'll be able to harvest some from them as well. And if you want to harvest some of your onion to eat the bulb from the ground, that is the right time for it as well, because they are pretty much hard, and you'll be able to harvest it and eat it. And I don't grow my things really too deep. You can see the onion, it will be so easy to pull it, and it's hard, it's not much or anything like that. So if I wanted to eat some of those bulbs, I will. A lot of time I just let them in the ground to eat the leaves and eat the bubbles that will grow on top, and then replant those bubbles when they are ready to be replanted. And we are now looking at soft net garlic, and some of them are hardneck. This is hardneck. Hardneck is going to do that. In fact, they are all hardneck. This is a soft neck garlic. It doesn't have that hard stem. And by doing this, I noticed that my soft neck garlic, they tend to be really early. So by turning brown, if I wanted to harvest the bulb, it will be time to harvest, but I'm not going to harvest the bulb. I'll just let it in the ground, and it will grow back in fall and then spring. So that's pretty much, I just leave the garlic in the ground year after year, and they do just fine. I don't intend to harvest the bulb. I focus on the green. But yes, you can, mix your vegetables and your fruit trees and pretty much grow at the ground level. If you want to save money, you are going to spend money fencing the garden anyway if you have bunny and deer in your area and you want to keep them out. But you can grow at the ground level, grow your fruit trees and grow your vegetables underneath them until your fruit trees are mature. And from that point, you can see, based on the shade they project on in your garden, you can see how you will move your greens or where you will grow them, so that they all can have a place in the garden. And by having this type of garden, I just mulch the ground with fall leaves or free wood chips. They are both free, and I do not till the garden because I have things in it that grow year after year. So those onions, they are ready to be harvested in May, when a lot of places, I don't even think in May you'll be able to harvest something from your garden if you do not have greenhouse. But when you are growing perennials, vegetables, early in spring they will start producing for you to start harvesting. So when people are planting, you'll be harvesting. And of course, when you are growing perennials, they take some years to establish. You can introduce some annuals as well, but if you want to save money, perennials are, in my opinion, the way to go, because they are low maintenance. They don't require a lot. You don't need to fertilize the ground. And I do not mulch. I do not water my garden because I mulch, and I do not fertilize anything. So that's how we save money, by growing. Like even the garden, we do not spend a lot the money on the garden to raise the garden, and the garden help us save money in our groceries, because there are things we do not purchase anymore. We do not purchase onion, we do not purchase garlic, and we do not purchase spinach, we do not purchase lettuce. We have greens in the garden that we use to make salad. Then we have Egyptian onion and garlic that we can use the leaves to replace those condiment or spice in our cooking. And we have perennial green herbs that we use to replace spices for us, like sage and winter savory and wild thyme. So those are perennials to our zone 5A. And if I want to season my cooking with herbs, I just go harvest them. And I have horseradish, which is a root spice as well, that can be used. So thank you so much for watching. Yes, you can grow your own food to save money, and growing your own food can save you money. You just have to find, you have to know why you are growing, why you want to start a garden, the goal you wanted to achieve, to know how to go about it. Annuals, you want to plant annuals, they will grow fast, but you have to keep buying the seeds every year if you are not saving your own seeds. And then you might need to water them, and you might need to weed your garden to make sure they don't have competition. And you might need to fertilize to have a bouncy harvest. But you know, growing perennials, they can be quite laid back, you know, slow to establish, but surely they will establish, and you can propagate them. So I have sorrel here growing, and it's pretty much producing some seeds, and they tend to produce shoots from this stem, and I like to harvest that shoot to replant. That's how I propagate them, but you can propagate from the ground as well. But I usually don't do that unless I pull, by trying to harvest the greens. If I pull a shoot out with some root, I will just do that, replant it elsewhere. But after a while, after producing those seeds, they will produce shoots at the junction of the leaves, and I'll peel them off and plant them elsewhere. So that's how I propagate them, to have enough for our eating and cooking. So thank you so much for watching. I'm Afiavi, Libreman, creators of Lebanon Consulting L.L.C YouTube channel, and ninasoap.com, our blog. And our goal for our blog is to share different way you can save money, and different ways you can make money to reach your financial independence, where you do not depend on your job to provide for your need and your family need. Thank you so much for watching our videos. We thank you all that subscribe to our channel. We thank you very much for all your comments. Thank you.